Okay, now, hello everyone. Today we're going to be looking at a new series that I hopefully can get through. I'm slowly trying to get there. Some of them are missing from the wave. I'm still trying to get to that. But today we're looking at the Street Fighter 2 Ultimate Street Fighter 2, the final challengers, Ryu. Now, this is the player one for now. There are player two frames of some of the characters. Some of them have, I bet it does recolors, but they call them player two. So they could kind of really redo the body and resell it as a player two version of it. They did that with the Bison, Cammy, Chung Li, Ryu, Ken. They have many characters actually. And I will say some of them are exclusive, which the Cammy I had to exclusive to Entertainment Earth. There was a Target exclusive Chung Li, and there was a final Ken and Ryu, which those are technically separate characters from the Ken and Ryu, and those were kind of exclusives. I think they were. And those like 200. But they're any cool variants because they do come with like barrels and stuff like that beat up. I do like those. I just don't know if we'll pick it up or not. And some of them are side exclusive because the Player 2 Bison is exclusive to the Big Bad Toy Store. Yeah, that includes that store. So, yeah, it's still available. Just probably pick it up if you want to. I got the Player 1 version of them. But, anyways, let's take a close look at Ryu and the accessories and let's see what Jada toys could do. If right now, then they get the license to Invincible and Cyberpunk. I have both Lucy and David. I just want to know what is going on with the last three figures, especially the Rebecca and Anna Smasher. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, and also I forgot to say that I did buy this at GameStop for $30. These things are $30, and the bigger figures are $35. So, hey, they're better pricing than Marvel Legends are, and you get some accessories. That's all. Now today we're going to get Jada Toys. Yeah, Street Fighter. Now I have reviewed Jada Toys in the past. Well, technically a closer look at it because technically when I did the gesture one, I did not know they made that figure actually, so that's on me. But this is Street Fighter 9 they have right now out. This is the second game. They're working on the third game already at the wave. Anyways, let's talk about this figure. So I would say with Ryu, I think it looks pretty good. The matte finish on the figure is pretty good looking, and I will say with Jada Toys, they have found a way to make every figure mostly unique with their different body types, with different materials of how they feel, how they did the joints. That's like with the line in general. They actually figured a way how to make them all different and unique. With Chung Li, her outfit's different than a lot of them are, and then they released Pair 2 frame, which is kind of like the alternate colors. So I don't have them yet. I have one of them, which is Cammy, which was the Entertainment exclusive one, which was the silver. I didn't pick up the green one. I'm gonna pick it up soon. And I will say the box being arcade is pretty cool. Now with this Ryu, I will say it is actually pretty good for how it poses, and it's hard to see on camera maybe that the feel of it feels like actual geese. If that makes sense, or like I don't even care. I don't even care. But it feels pretty good actually. And the top shirt actually, or top of the gi, is actually a soft plastic. So it can bend pretty far actually. It's pretty nice actually. And I'll tell you a little bit of what he can do afterwards. Now, his arms are fucking veiny as hell. I mean, it kind of makes sense. It is Ryu. This man's it's a beefcake. It's kind of funny that 52 Toys also made a Ryu that came out that is out this year, and that's for the sixth game that for Street Fighter 6. Just for the second game. So let's talk about the articulation. It is pretty nice. So he bend up there and almost touch his back. Well, he can touch his back, and you bend it a little more backwards. So that's pretty good for posability, like front of legs. The feet bend down pretty much like low, and actually later on, some of the figures would get toe bends. So that is fine actually. He could go all the way over here without modifications like it did with the Spider-Man. He could do it automatically. What kind of makes sense because it's Ryu. He can kick up that high up, which is actually pretty good. He can do the splits volley, which is actually pretty awesome. And if you really bend it, we'll bend this part. I mean, the actual fucking leg. If I could do that properly, like that, you can make him sit without doing any weird bullshit. Which is a good thing because that is the best part of this. It is a cool thing that they ever figured this out to make it work, and they did. And actually, they did a thigh cut up here, but it is actually pretty good. You can't see it unless you really look, especially with this right here. You can see it being cut, but it's not as bad, say like Spider-Man or any of the Marvel Legends. The arms bend up to the top of their bend to the top on both, but sometimes they're really stiff. I will say when later on we get to the line, it will get stiff for some of the figures. I mean that literally. So they bend up pretty high up. They go out this far out for the arms, which is good enough. Because they are on butterfly joints that are not nerfed. And with the gi, like I said, the one thing I do like about this figure is that you can take off the gi. And actually, this is what I want to point out. When you take off the stuff, which actually for Ken and Ryu and Akuma, you can take off their gis. Well, the top of their gis, not the full gis. And like I said, I will say it's pretty good. And that soft material. You can see where like it is. It is pretty cool. And when you take out the gi, you can see of how their articulation is. It could bend back this far, this forward, and guess what? It's a ball joint right here, in the body. Same over here. It's a fucking ball joint. Shocker! You can make it work. The head can look up that high up, this far down. Wow, you got more range. And the neck actually does move, which is very good. Now, accessory-wise, I'm going to leave the key for I'm going to leave the key for this reason off. You do have the Hadouken. Is it Kamehameha? But that's Dragon Ball Hadouken, which is actually pretty good. You do get the effect right here. You do get the hands right here, which is actually pretty neat. And actually, I do like the part. You do get the hands for it, and I don't have any complaints on that either. I wish it would paint a little more. You can see it was not fully painted on top, but the hands. That is the only part. It is very good of a figure, but then holy crap. The articulation is actually pretty good. You got to make it pretty much work very well. Trying to get a pose pretty easily is depending on how you get it to make it look. And like I said, I'm not very good at posing afterwards. It's shocking that I can pose like not on camera, but I can pretty much pose on and the Kamehameha there's a simple effect with the sand in it. Crap. The Kamehameha it's just a big blue thing, which actually the funny part is you can tell that there's hand inside that too. And the plug stand is anywhere here. Just joints here, here, and like I said on the stand. So you get to pose it any way you want. So you can pose it at any height. So a low Hadouken, a high Hadouken, which is pretty nice. And actually it stays up. Like the thing is not any top heavy. Well, it is a little heavy, but it's not as bad as you think it is. Last thing that this figure comes with is the alternate head. So with this one, he is very, I want to say, Ryu. And the last one of him gritting his teeth about to kick your ass. because you mess with his food. Easy Eddie to go and everything. And it's kind of funny. I picked the Cyberpunk line already. I already picked the Rebecca and David already. I already have the Dave on the way. It's gonna be here Saturday, or Sunday, and everything that goes on. Like I said, it is actually pretty easy to get everything on. This line is very good, and I'm happy about it. And everything, like I said, it comes along very well. Just put this through like that. And you go. The key goes on property, which is a very good thing. So hey, you can make it work. This guy is actually pretty sizable, and actually, he's only $30. Shocker! You can make a good price figure work easily. Now here's Act Guy. Bumblebee, my favorite car. Marvel Legends, and yes, they're a little shorter than Marvel Legends. I mean, it's the funny part is Sega. Sega is a little more taller, and yeah, I think these guys are pretty sizable for what they are. And stand up, stand up, bro. uh, but I would say for everything it comes with, it's actually pretty good and actually worth the money on this one. But to understand, and there you go. And if you're good at posting or doing anything with figures, it's pretty good actually. With the Hadouken hands, the alternate head, and actually they made a other, which actually the funny part I will point out is that on the box they have finally Ken and Ryu, but then those were I think they were exclusive, so those guys are getting hard to get. Ken I have, Chung Li I have, E Honda, Ryu, that fucker. This one player two, him, 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 and I'm still missing technically this guy right here, this one right here, this one right here. And I forgot about one thing in joins is that these things are. God, I gotta take the again. Damn it. One thing to point out with the articulation, which you really need to look at, with articulation, it is actually not bad looking. The early ones are not that bad. Later on, they did like a ball, so like a dung ball, like technically a ball. So a joint there, and then a joint there to make sure it moves around like pretty loosely. But the early one didn't have that. But it's so good. But it's actually pretty good. Still, at all this time, you know, like it's still early in like the way they did these lines. I think it's pretty good. And there was some collectibles that made their figures as well. But yeah, I've ran out getting another of those. But I do want to try to get some of the player two friends, so I can show them off next to their player one friends, which is actually pretty cool. I feel like I'm playing a fucking doll. But I will say it is very good that they added pay attention to the game. It's that you get the writing on the belt and everything else for it. I would say if I want to modify this, I probably could actually. It'd be kind of fun to see if there's any other way to make it more posable. But I would need to find a way to make that work. There you go. And now let's get to my final last on this. I will say Ryu is actually pretty nice for the collection, especially for the gaming side of it. I think it's pretty good. And I will say having a Ryu in the collection actually pretty nice. I will probably look into getting the player 2's variants of them. And funny part is, I did see Cammy at the player 1 variant at GameStop while I was picking up E Honda. I'm not joking. I literally saw Cammy and I didn't buy her. I probably should have bought her because it's pretty good for the collection because I really need to get some of the recolors. So I gotta make it like they could fight each other or fight themselves, technically. But anyways, I will say for the figure itself, it's pretty good articulation wise. Everything's the ball joint, and they actually learn. Jada Toys is pretty much learning with the figures because because some of the early ones didn't have toe joints, and the later ones do have toe joints. Some of them have better articulation with the ball right here, which is kind of like connected right here and then connected to the arm itself, which is pretty good and you can more range for the figures. And I will say they have unique body types for some of the figures. So especially with like Ken and Ryu, they did that with some of the other ones that are built like brick walls. Sagayo being a big muscle man, and E Honda being a big fat sumo wrestler, which is actually pretty good. He can't say an asshole. I'm gonna be honest with you. He sucks at standing. I may fix that sooner or later. And in his right foot has a problem of not staying with the toes down. Yeah, there's some problems with the figures. But I will say, were you being technically part of wave one? I will say for being a first starter for Jada, they did pretty good for the articulation for what you get, and it's cool that we're getting more figures for the game. And actually, they did show off some of the Street Fighter 3, so they're gonna redo some of the figures so they can do, which kind of makes sense because Street Fighter 3 has the base roster plus like some other characters, which I haven't seen the video about it. I'll probably watch it when I get time. Tell me what you think. Would you pick up this Ryu or any other Street Fighter characters for a collection? Because I'm gonna be honest here, I think it's pretty good, and for what it is, I think it's very nice. My rifle ones fell, but I would say I pretty nice of a figure, and I'm not complaining. Certain figures lack certain things, but I'd say this one for the accessory kit. I will say that which it came with some grabbing hands, but that's not everything that Ryan needs. I mean, technically, he can stand up pretty good. And if you can figure some game poses, if you are into like posing into like the game version of it, I think it's pretty nice to do if you're into that for your own collection. I hope you like that as thing, and I'm be honest, I kind of like it too. I just need to find time to make that work, and especially when I get through some of the reviews, that's going to be a little more busier for me because now I have to redo my shelves again. I've been wanting to redo them to redo it so I could just have some of the first stick out on my shelf, especially now. But I'll figure it out. So I hope y'all have a good day, yo, and I will probably finish up some stuff real quick. Peace out, people.